Number one, you ain't all that. I know that's hard for y'all to swallow. I don't look as good as my 22-year-old self. People need to realize that. You just ain't all that. And I get it. I got this master's degree. I went to this school, that school. I worked hard for this job, for this house. And then she over there got that man, and you don't have one. Men are very simple creatures. So, ladies, for you very accomplished ladies, I got some advice for them.
What's that?
I always say it like this. You can write this one down. Be a kitten, not a cat. What does that mean, Chris?
What does that mean?
You ever played with a kitten? It's real friendly. It almost acts like a puppy. And you want to play with it. You want to look at the little kitty. It just makes you feel good. Now, have you ever seen an adult cat? When it feels like it, it might rub against your leg and move away. But is that men like kittens?
Kittens will play with anybody. A cat is particular.
Listen, what did we learn? Men are very simple creatures.
Right.
You can fool us. We want you to laugh at our dumb jokes. So all you super smart women out there, you good looking women, you see a guy you like. Guys do make it out on a date. He actually pays for the date. When you're actually with that person, the dialogue is happening, the dinner is happening. You say, okay, this might work, this might work. It would help if you act a little blind.
Oh my God, Becky.
I mean, you're going to hear me say that a lot. I mean, be nice to him.
you
hit the worst joke ever. But if you sort of like them, laugh at it. There you go. Hey, it's a lot of married women out there. If we got any married women chiming in.
Look,
if I'm telling a lie.
That one's a fake laugh.
Let me know. Right.
What you're saying is that we should cater to the male ego, and that's what's ultimately going to get us married.
I'm first saying recognize that I think some of us, more women than men, look in the mirror. You ever seen a little lion look in the mirror and see somebody real big? They see somebody. And I'm not calling anybody ugly, so I'm not here to bash anybody.
Let's look at Middle America, okay? Middle America is not attractive.
They're not?
Middle America is largely married.
Okay, I think we're on the same page then. People sort of, we get stuck to reality shows sometime and think we're supposed to have, I got a degree in a house, so I'm supposed to have Idris Elba or his twin.
Well, I mean, have you noticed, okay, so you remember your friends from high school, right? And you remember how they had all of these qualifications for, if she's going to lock me down, she got to be this, that. She's got to have an ass like that.
That's all we really looked at. Stop right there. That's really what are men? Simple creatures. We want to be fed. We want you to laugh at us, give us some, and that's it. Happy Wednesday, people.
Happy Wednesday.
What am I doing wrong in relationships?
I don't know. What are you doing?
Welcome, everything. Welcome to the Kris. Don't tell my wife. Welcome to the Kris.
She knows.
Welcome to the Kris and Gina Relationship Show. This week I'll be Kris. She'll be Gina.
Yeah, change it up a little bit.
Gina, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm waiting for you to tell me my favorite part, though.
Oh, national. What national day it is?
Yeah.
She has a national day thing that she goes through.
I do. I love national days.
First off,
they're so ridiculous.
I will get right to it. Thanks anyone for joining us now. Anybody watching this show in the future. Gina and I do go back and check out comments. Usually it's, me talking crap to anybody that's disagreed with me because my opinions reign supreme. No, seriously, we do appreciate you watching the show. It's day 198 of 366. We are more than halfway through the year.
Wow.
Already.
But so that means it's still not too late.
It's not too late.
Secure a good relationship by the end of the year.
You can, like I said in the promo, it's summertime hot everywhere, all over the country. And I hope nobody's house blew down yesterday. Mine, I should have brought up pictures from my back gate that sort of a
Did
corner.
It blow in?
A middle piece did, but one of my neighbors is MacGyver. He's going to help me fix it. I'm all good.
Okay, that's nice.
It's National Corn Fritters Day. Not too exciting. I didn't think so.
On that one.
It's National personal chef day. You have a chef.
I do not have a chef.
You do own a restaurant.
At the restaurant, I do have
Gina
a chef.
B owns a restaurant.
I do.
So she has a chef.
I own a restaurant. Come visit me at Wax Vinyl Bar in Westtown.
There you go.
Chicago.
Plug it in.
Plug it in.
You want to give the address?
1549 West Chicago Avenue.
I would do that 2-3 times a show if I were you. It's Fresh Spinach Day.
Okay. You want to hear something really strange?
Go ahead.
I am allergic to raw spinach. I'm not allergic to cooked spinach.
Does it make your stomach hurt?
It really does, and it makes me kind of itchy.
Oh, well, can't explain that. But the raw vegetables, when you consume them, make more gas in you.
Yeah.
And which can lead to, at one point, I was on Health Kick People. I was doing this juicing thing, and I was drinking way too much. I actually went to the ER because my stomach, over time, was really bad, and they explained that to me.
Yeah.
And it stopped.
It took me a long time to figure out. I love salad, but I was having a lot of problems with salad. Like, it would just take me out. Like, I would have to go lay down and I'd go to sleep for 3 hours, like after salad. Like, it would make me that sick. And so
you're like a wolf, a carnivore. You're only supposed to eat meat, maybe. So who knows?
I don't know. But whatever it was, and then it came down to figuring out that it was a spinach leaf in the salads that were the problem. Anyway, more information than everybody needs. Thought I'd share.
Lastly, it is everyone's favorite, World Snake Day.
I like snakes.
You do?
Huh?
Most people should.
They
get rid of a lot of pests.
They're cool.
And people get scared of them.
Well, they're sometimes venomous.
They're like, how many? 3,500 types of snakes. Mm-hmm. Only 600 are venomous. Only 200 can unalive you.
That's enough, though.
Come to think of it, it is.
I don't want to run into, like, I've handled constrictors and just the garden variety. I've had one of those great big. Does anybody remember Britney Spears coming out with a great big boa around her neck? It was a yellow.
You know
boa.
That snake?
I do, because I had one of those snakes on me once. It was very cool. That snake didn't give a fuck about me. Anyway, all right.
Before we get into the meat of this, what am I doing wrong in the relationships? Just reminding you all, if you're catching us on Facebook, I'm going to ask you to look at the link. Mm-hmm. We'll put the YouTube link up. We're going to be migrating over to YouTube. We're already showing it there now. Hey, if you watch YouTube, try and find us there. Eventually, that's where we'll be. So, smaller following on there.
Yeah.
But
it's okay, though.
That's where I should have started.
It's fine.
All righty.
I derailed you with the days.
You did. So,
I wasn't.
This is a good topic because, I'm at a get-together, and I'm talking to these people. Somebody always says, oh, man, Kris does a show, blah, blah, blah. And then you start getting plied with questions. And there's some really nice people out here who aren't in relationships. Granted, I don't know how crazy they are out,
Oh, well, you just have to find somebody with your same level of crazy.
But
that exists.
It got me to thinking, and I made some notes so I don't forget anything. I'll even share my notes with Gina B.
That's rare.
A lot of what this shows, we're gonna talk about men, women, all that stuff, but we're also gonna focus on ourselves. Hard to do, but think about it. If I'm out here in the dating market, if I were single, I've retired from the game. But if I were out here dating and I'm having problems, and let's say, I don't know, I want a long-term commitment. Maybe I want to get married, whatever the case. I'm having problems with her. And then that didn't work. I move on to her. Who's the common denominator?
That's right, you.
Me. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about some things that maybe you do, maybe you don't know you do. We will talk about people you date, people you may should avoid. But with that, Gina B, should we talk about any toxic behaviors, or should we start off with a set you up video so maybe you can see? Maybe we do that.
Yeah, let's start off with a video.
We'll start off with a video
so
you can see. People talk about toxic behaviors, but some are kind of subtle.
And and people talk about toxic behaviors as like an umbrella statement, but what do they really mean? And this video doesn't.
And sometimes they mistakenly say things are toxic when they're not. We'll get to those. We're going to have Denzel Washington. Actually, it's not Denzel.
It's not. It's just his face.
It's his face.
Right.
The voiceover. Denzel, give us some basic toxic behaviors so we can start this show.
Bye.
Toxic things people say. I know we just met, but I feel like we're soulmates. This is called love bombing. If you really cared about me, you would do this for me. This is called an ultimatum. Something is wrong with you. You need help. This is called victim blaming. Why are you even here if you think I...
So, Denzel, give us some basic toxic behaviors so we can start this show.
Toxic things people say. I know we just met, but I feel like we're soulmates. This is called love bombing. If you really cared about me, you would do this for me. This is called an ultimatum. Something is wrong with you. You need help. This is called victim blaming. Why are you even here if you think I'm so terrible then? This is called gaslighting. You're not capable of understanding this. This is toxic things people say. I know we just met, but I feel like we're soulmates. This is called love bombing.
Read it. It just
if
went
you
out.
really cared about me, you would do this for me. This is called an ultimatum. Something is wrong with you. You need help. This is called victim blaming. Why are you even here if you think I'm so terrible then? This is called gaslighting. You're not capable of understanding this. This is called patronizing. I never asked you to do that. This is called non-recognition. I'm sorry you feel that way. This is called phopology. I'm a good person. This is called deflecting criticism. Stop overreacting. This is called minimizing. You made me do this. This is called blame shifting. I can't do anything right. This is called playing the victim. Nobody else would put up with this. This is called guilt tripping. Why can't you be more like her? This is called triangulation. It was just a joke. This is called gaslighting. You're taking this way too personally. This is called invalidation. Here we go again. You always do this. This is called absolutes.
It's over. It's over.
Guilt tripping. Why can't you be more like her? This is called triangulation. It was just a joke. This is called gaslighting. You're taking this way too personally. This is called invalidation. Here we go again. You always do this. This is called absolutes.
Gina B is one of the former 6 brown chicks. Well, this is when I was a brown. Excuse me.
So I wrote a column. Enough though.
Come to think of it.
Do this. This is called absolutes.
What is love bombing for those folks?
That's when you do grand display.
Gina B is one of the former 6 brown chicks. Excuse me.
On in the relationship, so makes people think that you're more into them than you might
Mic
be.
check. Mic check. We're hearing an echo.
Yeah, I don't like hearing myself.
Me neither. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So anyway, that's if you hang out with a guy, let's just say, and a couple days goes, I think I love you. I think I could really fall in love with you.
I think it probably is. Would you say more common with guys doing that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'll get into what women do in a second.
Okay.
So, yes, men will do that in a lot of well, I think, and you can confirm or deny this because you're a man, I think it's just a way to get sex early.
I would concur. Well, let me say this. Men are always trying to get sex. But even if the men who marry you eventually, when he met you, he was trying to sleep with you. It's just your job not to give him any.
Yeah, it's your job to cut through all that because he'll sleep with anybody.
But the love bombing is, it's almost, I don't know, it's almost overbearing. It's not genuine, which is why I call it
kind
toxic.
Of abusive.
A little bit, yeah, because you're like, oh man, I love you. You're my soulmate. And we just met. Or if they're buying you, big things, they're trying to. It's not genuine. What I call healthy attraction.
Right.
I'd like to think that, or some of these men can be later on very controlling once they have you. Conversely, same with women who also love bomb.
And for different reasons, but I think men love bomb. And I've met men before who do that. I used to, when I was dating, I found it horribly unattractive.
Right.
Because I felt with the men that did it, they were trying to keep me from noticing other things.
Right. And it's funny you say that. It is used within established relationships as well as a smokescreen. Mm-hmm. I got something going on over here, man or woman. I got something else going on. So when I'm with you, I'm going to love bomb to take your mind away from this. And meanwhile, he or she is over there doing that.
Right.
That's a big thing.
That's a problem.
Yeah, but it can be. It's one that you look over, right? Especially if you're a woman. Quite frankly, like, oh man, I must really be different. He's really doing this for me. He bought me this. He took me here, et cetera, et cetera. Just look out for it, especially starting off on relationships.
Yeah, well, everyone wants to be thought of. Everyone wants to think that they're special.
Right.
And that's how also women will do it to men. Like I find it kind of funny sometimes because knowing women, obviously being a woman, and watching some of this happen, a lot of women will do things like, I don't usually do this.
Exactly.
Meaning, if I've had a one night stand, I've never done this before.
No woman wants you to know that
she's a hoe.
She's when nobody's looking, she's a whore.
Well,
just for you.
It's so funny. Like I'm like, you forgot the end of that sentence.
Right.
Like
right.
I don't usually do this weekend. Like it's
exactly.
just it's. Look, there are some men out there who are married to women who they think have had significantly fewer sex partners than they have. Is all I have to tell you.
And also, be careful if you were doing this unconsciously, because it's weird.
It's weird, but you know what? Men fall for it hook, line, and sinker. I have had men swear up and down to me because I have a lot of male friends that the women they're with, she's only been with 3 people. I'm like, what's the multiplier?
3.
I'm like, I know that.
Multiply is 3 universal.
But that's a form of, don't you think that's kind of a form of love bombing though? Like,
absolutely,
you're very special to me. I've never done this before. It's like, okay. Or
make no mistake. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Go ahead. No, make no mistake.
No. Because I was gonna.
No, I was gonna divert. So what were you gonna say?
I was gonna divert too. You divert first.
Okay. Well, that's the other thing is a lot of women will want to skip dating and be like, why are we bullshitting? We're just in a relationship, which is another kind of form of it. But what were you going to divert to?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's an upcoming show. Do I want to be married or do I want to be a wife? It's another show. Yeah. I was going to say, make no mistake, because I think throughout history, men have probably had had more money, more opportunity. Women were denied opportunity. Women have had to learn to manipulate men. Mm-hmm. So while it is an unpopular thing to say, because a lot of women couldn't smack their husband around, she had to learn to manipulate him. So I do think women are better manipulators than men. Yes. I would even argue, and it's not I don't know, depending on the end result, necessarily good or a bad thing. We got one question, which is...
We have Michelle.
What was the question?
It says, listen, everyone has red flags. It's how many flags will you look past? How many flags will you tolerate?
Great point. All of us do.
Yeah, we do. And
we all have flaws.
One of the things that Kris and I were discussing before this show is that there are people that will date people for 10 years who have 7 of 10 of these things that we're about to mention, and we'll overlook them somehow and wonder why they're in bad relationships. So, just keep watching because we're going to uncover even more of them.
And, I don't, depending on the person, Michelle, I don't know if all red flags are weighted equally, right?
Yeah, there's a weighting system.
If a man shows, I have 3 daughters, if a man shows abusive tendencies, date 1 or 2, and he's coming this close to punching the waiter because of, confusion in an order, that's a bigger red flag to me than, a small non-consequential disagreement that a man and woman may have, and he's thinking, oh man, she's just combative, right? So I think it depends on the flag. I'd like to, I don't have a number because, again, with me, and I think with most people, it depends on how much you are initially attracted to the person.
How much are you attracted to them, and do they have other qualities that you're looking for?
Because I've seen women and men, if the package look good enough up front, they got more red flags that the person's usually contending with. And it is the discipline of men and women to walk away from those red flags who waste the least amount of time. Yeah. So I think we've covered love bombing.
Yeah, we've covered that.
And love.
Okay, what's next?
I'll do the next one. Then we'll alternate.
Go ahead. We can alternate.
The next one is easy, ultimatums, right? Now, an ultimatum is if a guy or gal says, if you don't do this, there will be some negative consequence, right? That's key. And this is one of those that I say gets confusing. I've heard women say, oh my God, he's controlling, when it could be a husband who's in an established relationship and maybe he's uncomfortable with the outfit a woman has on, right? And he might say something like, you sure you want to wear that? It's a little revealing. He didn't tell her what to wear. He asked her. She's well within her right to say, you know what? I'm good with it. Right. I'm with you, and then they can discuss respectfully. That's not really control. There's no ultimatum. There was no, if you don't, this is going to happen. But it is a trigger I've seen for a lot of women. But that in and of itself, I call fair play. Ultimatums are, hey, listen, if, we're not having sex 3 times a week, I'm not buying a new car. I'm just a bad example.
What is the correlate? Okay.
It's a bad example, but my point is you're forcing someone into a behavior, and if not,
or a situation,
or there's going to be a negative result from it.
A lot of people will say, hey, either you commit to me or I'm out, right? That's a common ultimatum. And
that's what women give.
Or men, I've known a small percentage of men to give it too, but women largely, right? You don't want it that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's anything that you could pose in an ultimatum, that's not the way you want to get it. And unspoken ultimatums are fine. Like I was the queen of unspoken ultimatums.
Wow. I don't believe in ultimatums, but let's hear it out.
Unspoken.
Doesn't matter.
Where in your head you say,
it didn't
if
come
he
out.
doesn't do this, I'm done.
Oh.
Right? You don't need to give it to him.
That's you setting your own boundaries with yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Like, I believe in, okay, let's set some milestones for this. I believe that the minute they metastasize, right, when you say it and someone needs to react to it, that's...
First off, I don't know if it's a joke around here, but my seat keeps getting lower and lower and lower. And Gina B's seat's higher, and I'm going to fix mine.
He does not like looking shorter than me.
There we go.
He hates
I'm like, why
it.
do I keep saying that?
He's like, why am I shorter?
So, Michelle Tate, is that Tate? What's that last name? I can't see.
It's Tosto.
Yeah, that's great. She says, not unless she asks, how does this look?
Yeah, when you were saying earlier.
That is a man's dream right there. Because,
how do I look?
Well, the smartest of men and the smartest of women do what you said. They know what they want. They don't argue. They don't haggle over it. They just move on.
Yeah, just
if they don't have it. So
yeah, that's all you gotta do.
But a woman who does that, really mature masculine men don't want to control. It's toxic men, those low budget Negroes.
You wouldn't leave in the house unless you.
They're the low self-esteem dudes that are trying to tell you what to. Or there's some high value men also, right, if they have low self-esteem, trying to control somebody's whatever they're doing. Ideally, the smartest woman or the smartest man, you pick someone that moves accordingly. Mm-hmm. This woman, and what Michelle just pointed out, is what a guy likes. Hey, if I'm not around, or she's at least concerned about what I think.
Right.
And I don't, the man's perfect dream isn't to say, hey, some guy pushes up on you, here's your script. It's just to know that if I'm gone, you're out somewhere, and if you got a woman or a man worth having, people are going to be interested, that they behave accordingly when you're not there, on their own will, free, free, and that's the ideal person. You want a man or woman should feel comfortable with what's going on. I've heard women tell me, well, when he's out, he's just too flirtatious, and he's escorting women to get drinks, or he's doing this, that, and the other. That's something to look at.
Well, yeah. I mean, you ask a guy. I ask my husband all the time. It's like, what do you like? Do you like this outfit better or this outfit better? And usually he's like, if it's an outfit where he feels like it's not, it's like, oh, do you think the skirt's too short? Maybe.
My wife's blatantly honest. I'm like, how does this look? She's like, yeah, it's a little tight in the stomach. I'm like, that's how you feel? But you do want honesty.
We do want honesty. Right.
Your turn.
Definitely. Okay. So, victim blaming. Man, he sexually assaulted you when you flirted too much. Women.
Oh, it's like, when victim blaming is society does this to women when they're dressed promiscuous, right?
Yeah, speaking of how you're dressed.
Right.
Well, if you weren't in that little black dress looking all fine, then he wouldn't be trying to get, like,
correct.
What? I'm sorry. That's not really a reason for abuse.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So that's toxic behavior. We don't even need to belabor that one. I think we're all clear.
Women do it too. I see it within relationships. Consider a man comes to you and says, I don't know what his concern may be. And you don't cook or something like that for me, right? Mm-hmm. And then instead of acknowledging whether she's been doing whatever she normally does, she says, well, you just don't take me out anymore. What's my incentive to cook? Blah, blah, blah. She's ignored what he said and made herself the victim.
Is that really victim blaming, though?
It's deflection as well.
I think that's more Jedi mind trick. Like, I wouldn't call that victim blaming. Victim blaming is when you've been victimized by someone and something, and someone blames you for being victimized. Or for
they get very upset
assaulted
at your response. And this happens to men a lot. Someone's hurt me. I'm feeling unsafe in this relationship. And you've repeatedly addressed this with said woman. Mm-hmm. And, she's saying, well, it's because you were probably doing something like that to me. That's
deflection.
It is. I think it's all deflection.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to acknowledge what really happened.
Right.
Just like in the clothing situation, you don't want to acknowledge the crime. You want to acknowledge how it was dressed.
Right.
So it's when you switch, or a man says something repeatedly and his voice gets louder, and now you've offended her because you yelled at me. You just yelled at me. How am I supposed to respond to anything and you yelled at me?
And he goes, well, you make me yell at you because you're so goddamn frustrated.
And it's like this. Well, if I smack the crap out of you and you say, ouch, am I going to get mad at you for yelling ouch? It's the same thing. Women will hurt men with words a lot. The man says something, he replies. She doesn't like the tone in which he replied. Yeah. You're not a guy. You don't see this often.
The next one's my favorite.
Go ahead. You take it.
Gaslighting.
Talk about it.
Now, does anyone know where the term comes from? Do you guys know? I've been using this for years, and now it's just been popularized.
It comes from something old.
It does. In fact, I need to check what year this was, because it's older than most people think.
But it comes from literally lighting something.
No, it does not.
Yeah, it did.
It did not. Okay, so I want you guys to go all the way back to
1987.
No. I mean, it's seriously, it was a really good movie. And it was from 1944.
Talk about it.
And it was, it was an Ingrid Bergman movie. I really like this movie, right? And I saw it, I think one of my parents was watching it. It was like a black and white when I was a little kid. And, where this woman is starting to notice weird things, like things are missing and there are weird footsteps in the night and like all this stuff. And so basically, and lights that dim that haven't been lit. right? Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of lighting.
Right.
But the bottom line is he's trying to make her think she's crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's her new husband, and he's trying to make her think that, like, I'm losing my mind.
Right.
When in reality, she was perfectly sane, and he was just fucking with her, basically. Okay, so that's a 1944 film. It was remade about 25 years later, and now we're using it as a term, and it's being used accurately, but that's where it comes from. So if anybody wants to go back there and see the origin of it, then that's what it is. But anyway, not the point. Point here is that gaslighting is when you're trying to make a person think that something is a truth when it is absolutely not. Like, you're cheating on me. No, I'm not.
Why would I sleep with a lady who works in the candy shop?
Yeah.
When it's perfectly possible for you to sleep with a woman who's in the candy shop, but, you know.
Right, exactly. Like, why would I do that? Or that, you know, I saw your car here. No, you didn't.
Oh, come on. Every car looks like my car.
Listen, let me be clear. I dated a guy once.
Right.
It's funny. Now, because comedy is tragedy plus time. Years and years and years ago, obviously, I've been with my husband for 15 years. But years ago, I caught a guy that I used to date. He was at his ex's house, right? And ex lived around the corner from a restaurant that I used to go to, and I used to see, you know, whatever. And so his car was very, very distinct. I knew his license plate number, and it was kind of a trap. So I sort of knew, like, I'm like, motherfucker, ain't nobody else. Anyway, so I told him that I saw his car, and he swore up and down that wasn't his car. I was like, so somebody else has this crappy variety of car. Like, he was straight trying to gaslight me. And I was like, you are not going to try and tell me that I did not see you there. Like, what was that? I didn't see, it wasn't me situation. So that's gaslighting. And people will do that to make you think you're crazy when you know full well what you're talking about and what you've seen.
And that is probably one of the most common that I see.
Oh, your boy. Here we go, Mr. Hankins.
I don't know him.
It is the most bullshit term ever put into language. It used to be called manipulation when language was important. I welcome you to go back to the film, the original film, where it comes from.
But he's right.
What? That it's a bullshit term?
Well, it's one of these new terms that everybody's using.
It's not a new term. It's an old term. It came from a movie, and it's the same situation.
It's a term that people lock onto, and it is definitely overused.
Well, okay.
It's almost like saying the patriarchy every other day.
I don't say it every other day.
Well,
but there are patriarchal incidents.
It is what it is.
But I don't know that. I think it's only bullshit when it is bullshit.
Okay.
I don't know that the core of it is, though, because there are definitely people who will try and gaslight you. There are.
I agree, and I do think
I've lived through it.
Yeah,
they gone.
I've seen people say to folks, "Oh, you're way too sensitive," and you don't want the person. You want to make them pretend, like you said, that they're not feeling something.
Right. You want to make them feel like what they know is not accurate, and it's like, no. I'm sorry.
Again, for anyone who's just jumping in, title of the show is "What Am I Doing Wrong in Dating and Relationships?" And actually, we're talking about other people. This is a list that I'm letting folks know one of the reasons they're not in a relationship is because they've been doing this to folks. And it makes people feel messed up. It's like somebody, steps real hard on your shoe, and it's like, oh, man, you hurt, like two dudes talking. It's not a relationship. Oh, man, you hurt my foot. Oh, man, you good. Now, man, for real, my foot is hurting. All right, man, I'm sorry. Now, that wouldn't make me feel whole. Somebody stepping on my foot hurting it saying, hey, listen, I'm sorry I hurt your foot. It was totally unintentional. I want you to feel better. They come back 5 minutes later. You good? That is somebody who cares. That makes me feel better.
Right.
We don't do that when we're mad at somebody.
Like, you a punk bitch.
Right. No, wait a minute. Think about it this is within a relationship. You're mad at somebody. You're upset with somebody. You give them that half blank apology because you didn't really mean it. You're letting your emotions take over. Well, what if I'm not sorry? You've heard people say this, like, but you were wrong. And if you care about somebody, that's what I said, if you're in a relationship, talk about red flags, that's a big one. Yep. Somebody doesn't care that they hurt you, especially in a marriage.
Where, they don't care.
Yeah. Oh,
like
so what?
You good.
Yeah, you good. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
The next. Okay, go ahead. Before we go next.
Go ahead.
Oh, what we got? What we got?
We have some, but we can get like Michelle Tasso. When you meet someone and you both have an instant connection, how long do you need to wait to meet family, kids, and the L word? What if he pulls the L word instantly? What do you do? Okay, that's love bombing.
That's love bombing. But wait, I like the question.
That's an interesting question.
That's a whole show.
That is a whole show.
But I'll give my thoughts.
I met my husband's family really quickly, sooner than I thought was appropriate.
I am
honestly.
I am against doing anything too soon. Because if somebody really values you, they really care for you, they'll wait, and it allows you to make sure that this is legit. I don't want to meet everybody's mama. I don't want to meet your kids. I don't want to meet anybody until I know I'm going to be invested in you.
Exactly.
So if you decide that you're going to, not because it looked good on the surface. Remember what I said, Michelle?
She missed the first part of the show because she was like, what's love bombing?
We have to apply discipline in dating. Young men need to know just because she looks good and she's giving you some, that you shouldn't take it. The best of us know, I'm guilty of doing everything a dumb dude could do. So I'm not blaming, I'm not judging. And young women need to learn, just because he looks good and speaks well and buys you something and takes you to a nice place does not entitle him to some. And I'll tell you this, and then I'll move on to the next topic. I've never seen a man treat a woman better than before he slept with her.
Oh, everything before sex is for you. Everything after sex is for
I've
him.
never seen a man treat a woman better than before he slept with her.
Absolutely. I agree with that. She wants to know, what if they're okay and you want... Okay, let me give you a personal
What's the question?
story. She wants to know, like, as far as meeting the family, what if they're okay and you want to meet the family? So my personal story with this is that I started dating my now husband around Thanksgiving.
Right.
Several years ago. And so Christmas rolls around just a few weeks later, and his family's coming in town. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see you after the holidays. I'm thinking, because we had spent like almost every day together or whatever. And so he goes, oh, no, you're coming with me.
Oh, wow.
And I said, with you? And so...
Staking his claim.
Yeah. I was like, he goes, well... And so I kind of didn't necessarily want to. I mean, I didn't know what was going on.
So you
I'd
went.
only been dating him. Yeah, I went one day and I didn't go the next day. Like I went on Christmas Eve, I didn't go on Christmas Day.
Okay.
He wanted me to come Christmas Day. I was like, no. But it ended up. But then I thought, all right, well then now I get a chance to see if his family's crazy because I'm not that invested. So if they are crazy, then I can get up out of there, right? But yeah, he wanted me to meet his family early. It ended up working out really well. I ended up loving his family, and that was cool. I think I met his daughter a little too soon. She was little. And
it's not a bad sign that a guy wants you to do that.
It's not a bad sign.
On the other end of the spectrum, I wasn't taking anybody to meeting the holidays because I was a player.
Right.
And I was avoiding the holidays like the plague.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
No, it isn't a bad thing, but it's just,
I've seen this a lot. The next one in social media. Obviously, we do a show. Obviously, some things trigger people and they want to take a shot at you. It's part of the landscape. If patronizing someone, that's like, I've seen people reply to posts and you'll see some woman say, well, if you could read, then so-and-so, so-and-so. I just hate that.
That's patronizing, and that's actually like being condescending.
Like a mofo.
If you could read, it's like, shut up. We don't need all that.
So,
that's not cool.
Like, they don't. It's almost like.
Sometimes people will do it at work. Like they'll be like, someone will ask a question. Per my last email.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
exactly.
lots of ways to be patronizing.
Right. But it sort of undermines your intelligence, as if what you were believing would just be totally stupid.
Ridiculous.
Like you disagreed with them. Well, if you actually read the whole thing.
Right.
Well, if you didn't skip over XYZ, if you didn't always do this, as if they have better perception, better reading skills than you. And Yeah, it doesn't trigger me, but it used to, admittedly, until I realized when people exhibit these toxic behaviors, a lot of it has to do with problems in them.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
It's really, most things are people reacting to their own
absolutely.
insecurities.
95% of all my relationship failures, I can honestly say, whether it's a woman who is predatory or not, my actions had a lot to do with the outcomes of those relationships.
For sure.
So even if, and women, don't get triggered, even if he does something that is wrong, I won't even say you feel is wrong.
Right.
If he does something wrong, you not wanting to, if you don't address it and you want to do something wrong back, yours is less, it just goes back and forth. It just doesn't help the relationship. I don't go on right or wrong. I go on results. And people who, and that's getting to the end of the show, who want the relationship to win, or do you want to be right? I see a lot of people today wanting to be right. They will do so much damage in a relationship trying to defend, apologizing, trying to justify their actions. And all that does is do damage to that relationship. And it is no longer even about how it started. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. What's next?
You go to that one.
I can't read
You do
the
the next two
handwriting.
because that's nothing.
Oh, non-recognition.
Yeah.
Oh, well, when you do something, this is when you've been dating a while.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a new dating scenario.
Right.
It's when it's almost like a crossing of a love language, right?
Right.
Where, if your love language is acts of service and someone else's love language is like, I don't know, time spent or something like that, right? So the acts of service person is giving acts of service because that's what the acts of service person does.
Right.
And then the person who values time spent is looking for something different.
I've been spending so much time doing stuff for you, and they're doing acts of service, but that's not your love language.
Right. And
So,
so
yeah.
it's like then the person who does the acts of service will say things like, well, I did X, Y, and Z for you.
Right.
And the other person will say, well, I never asked you to do that.
Which is toxic, by the way.
Which is,
No, that's toxic as hell.
No, I was going to say it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because, you have to recognize how someone expresses themselves in a relationship.
Right.
And if, say, I think someone...
I'm just getting shorter. I'll be under the desk. So,
he's going to be Lilliputian in a second.
She switches the chairs.
I did
every
not
time.
do any such thing.
I'm almost sure that you do.
I do not. I think you just don't know how to work the chair.
That might be true. Okay, now I'm back to normal. Okay.
Don't worry,
Did
he'll
you
be
see
down
me? I
there
was
again
like,
in 10
wait.
minutes.
I was like,
right, he's gonna be under the.
Right.
I'll be like, Chris, what's going on?
All right, go ahead.
So, but it's it's a situation where you have to recognize when someone's doing something for you because they're trying to express themselves to you.
Right.
Like if I love flowers, right, but I'm with someone who when they like someone, they send candy.
Right. That's just a communication thing to get past.
It is. It's a whole communication thing. It's not, but that's non. Yeah.
This one's a good one. It's called faux. Well, you can do it. It's like a false apology.
Propology.
Faux. Yeah.
Propology. It's
faux.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
Right.
As opposed to I'm sorry I did that.
I'm sorry you feel pain.
Like when I screamed at you, I'm sorry you felt that it was harsh.
I'm sorry. Right. I'm sorry you were offended.
Yeah.
If you feel offended.
It's opposed to I'm sorry I did it.
Because how did I hear this explained that would be making home? When someone, here's what people do that's toxic, and you should know it. It's not necessarily an apology, but it is on that. It wasn't mentioned in the video, but it is trying to use the word feel, and when you use it incorrectly. I have seen people say, I feel like when you don't call me when I say you're going to call, that you're off at your ex-girlfriend's house doing X, Y, and Z. The way you should approach that is with an actual feeling after the word feel. I feel unsafe because I hadn't heard from you. But what a lot of people do, and you see this on social media, I feel like when a man does this, it means, and they just have a story in their head. They just go to la la land.
Right.
Don't do that. That is toxic. Smart folks can recognize it, and it means you're crazy. or you have some undealt with stuff. As a young man, if you would find enough, I would deal with it. But if you feel...
You didn't ultimately care.
Or if you feel... Exactly, I didn't care. Yeah. If you feel scared, if you feel, like your feelings aren't being... I feel, saddened, or I feel alone, or I feel like I'm unheard. Those are like feelings. But if you say, I feel like what you really meant to say was this, where the hell did you get that? I made it up. Right? Don't we see people do that?
I just pulled that directly out of my ass.
But you should do not do that, ladies and gentlemen. I just feel like what you really mean to do is, you really don't like me, and it means that this and blah, 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 blah.
Let's acknowledge that the phrase "I feel that" has become a very trendy thing to say.
Right.
Like, I feel like blah blah blah. Like that's a very trendy.
Just say I feel sad. I feel happy. It has to be an emotion after feel, not your story that you made up. Social media today, someone commented, it was a post that I commented on. This woman had an issue, actually it's one of my good friends, with older men dating younger women. It's always, he's controlling her.
And then she says,
but she says, I said something like, well, there was a CNN article that she sent to me based on data, logic, facts, all this, that said, I'm close to the numbers, 34% only of men 18 to 29 are actively dating, which is odd. That number in the 70s would have been 80%. It used to be the most sexually active group.
Right.
Now they're like 34, but it says women 18 to 29, 74% are dating. So
that's because women don't like to date poor men.
They are dating. Thank you. They are dating other women, but not by double. And there are more women. To say that there isn't a faction of women that prefer older men is just wrong, for the reasons you just said.
Yeah, I'm not sure that okay.
And I'm not saying it leads to marriage.
If the younger men had more money,
right,
I think they'd date them.
But that's not my argument, is it?
No, but
my argument was what?
The older men.
So what she did was say something to the effect of, well, I feel like, and it was something that had like zero to do with anything that we were talking about. And it was a need to be right. A reason to justify whatever. And I said, oh, you're using the old switch. Oh, she was exaggerating. That's another one that's come over here. She was exaggerating my points to make it seem like, is it extreme. Oh, she said, I know what it was. It was a nice looking guy who was handsome, young. Turned out he was like a scholar. And she said, yeah, I bet he wouldn't pick an idiot from Walmart. And I said,
what does that have to do with anything?
Exactly. She wanted to wait a minute. Because I said, men like, fit, feminine, agreeable women, somebody like him has his options. She went all the way to making his option. He wouldn't pick an idiot.
Well, if he has options, then no, he's not.
Well, where did I say the person who was whatever had to be an idiot? So what she did, she made it an extreme situation that she could argue against.
Can I make a suggestion?
I don't have a suggestion. I'm
going to make one to you.
Yeah.
Don't ever argue with that person.
I did.
Okay.
But my standard answer is now, do better. I saw what you did. I laid it out. I now have a sheet with common answers. You did number 16, and that's it. Anyway.
Can I just add some things to this? So this will help you.
But women and men, if your relationship's doing this, that is toxic. Oh, I got a lot to talk about.
Oh, wow.
So let's run through those fast.
We don't have a lot of time. Okay, let's run through them fast.
Go ahead. You do the next 5. I'll just comment.
Okay. Deflecting criticism. Oh, yeah. This is a big one, actually. Here's what I suggest everyone watch out for in general, whether you're dating or not, okay? If someone tells you they're a nice guy, they're a good person.
Oh, hell yeah.
No, they're not. They're not nice guys. They're not good people.
Right.
Anyone who is so busy telling you that, they are full of shit, and you need to definitely be careful because they are telling you that. You should be able to suss that out yourself. So that's deflecting criticism.
Yep.
Minimizing. It's not that big of a deal. Stop overreacting. You don't tell me how to react to anything.
Or what is that? What if I said that to you and we're in a relationship? What am I doing to your feelings? I'm like,
yeah, you're invalidating them.
Absolutely.
You're invalidating the feelings.
So, and I know what some of you are saying is, well, I've said that. It didn't mean, whether you know it or not, if you, that's showing a toxic behavior. And people should know that, which is one of the reasons a lot of people aren't in relationships. We'll get off this list in the last, 5 minutes. And we'll talk about some other stuff we see, like what men want, what women want, and what you're not doing, which is why you don't have that person.
Right.
So run through.
Well, here's something that admittedly, my husband will do to me sometimes, which is blame shifting. He loves to blame me for things. Like
I don't believe men do that.
He loves it. Well, you made me do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, no, I didn't. I had nothing to do.
I remember saying that to my parents a lot when I was a kid. Yeah, that even sounds like some BS.
I mean, it's like, wait, I was not there. What are you talking about? Well, if you hadn't done blah blah blah, I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't do anything about it. Playing the victim.
Yeah, we saw.
I can't do anything right. Either way, I lose.
Oh, you're so. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I am so put upon.
You think I'm gonna forget about that crap you did to me because you said that?
Oh well, if I did it this way, I'd lose. If I did it that way, I'd lose. If either way, I'm the victim.
Right.
Oh my God, this is the one that I hate, and I'm actually impervious to this one, which is guilt tripping.
Does it trigger you?
Worst way. No, I don't care.
Right.
Because it's you know what? I grew up with a Catholic mother, and I went to camp with all Jewish kids. So therefore, guilt, I have a special relationship with guilt, and I don't care about it. So guilt tripping me is you might as well be a tree falling in the forest, as far as I can say.
And that is a form of, as a Catholic school kid, they will guilt you.
Rife with guilt.
It worked. but in a relationship, no, don't do it.
It does not. Like no one. Yeah, that's that, and you shouldn't be doing that anyway. Okay, so triangulation. Okay, this is a big one.
Yes.
Why can't if you're okay? So say you're dating someone, and maybe they have an ex.
Yeah,
who they dated, or maybe they have a friend, or whatever it is.
Johnny didn't do that to me.
Right. So and so, why can't you be more like
why
so-and-so?
can't you cook like she did?
Why don't you go find her ass and date her then? Since she
go find your mama.
Right, exactly. Why can't you be more like my mama? Well, do you have an incest problem? Because that's what it sounds like.
Wow.
I mean, real talk. Like, if you want to be that person, live with your mother then.
Right.
Or go back with your ex or whatever it is. Don't bring another person into our relationship who has nothing to do with us.
Right. Hey, Bella Angel, she joined the...
How you doing, Bella?
So, with the last few minutes, I do want to speak specifically to the sexes. Gina B, feel free to add, throw in, whatever. Men, mistakes I see men making, especially young men do this the most. If a woman, I got daughters, but if I had a son and I see young men trying to make their acquaintance with a young woman, and I see them putting up with some young ladies are really nice to young men.
Some of them are.
And I've noticed, it just seems like they've been taught. They if the guy holds the door open, hey, how you doing, Miss So-and-so? Even if she has no intention, she speaks to him correctly.
Yeah.
But I've also seen, and I'm talking about the more ratchet group, the young girls who yell at people on the cell phone, let everyone know their conversation. I've seen them speak very poorly to young guys, and if she looks nice, I see them putting up with it. I see grown men putting up with it, and I think men have to learn to have enough discipline not to sleep with. I mentioned this earlier. Date, give any attention to toxic behavior. Conversely, I see young women do the same. Mm-hmm. And my advice to them is, number one, women have great intuition. Mm-hmm. If he's making you feel a certain way,
right,
that's a sign, number one.
That is.
And if you feel that he's giving you reason to feel like you're special, but he's showing that same attention to someone else, or has pulled it away and you've done nothing. I don't care how good he looks. I do not care how popular he is. I do not care how much money he has. I think people should condition themselves to the people who like you, the good ones out of that group.
Right.
Pick one of them.
Yeah.
And I see that mistake being made at every level, especially with these dumb, high net worth athletes and celebrities are the worst.
Yeah.
You will see the same guy get duped a bunch of times.
Over and over.
Women on that end typically a little smarter. I don't think Mary J. Blige will get duped more again.
Well, you know what? We don't necessarily mind because Mary puts out great albums when she's had bad relationships.
But she had to pay a lot in.
No, I'm not saying that what she had to, but Mary, whenever Mary's in pain, she puts out a great album. But
right.
Not to make this about us.
Right.
But I'm gonna take this a step further.
Let's stick the men what they do wrong first. Oh, you're going to women.
I'm just gonna talk about people.
Oh, okay, cool.
Generally.
All right.
Men or women. I'm a firm believer. I hope I articulate this correctly because it's
I'm about to be triggered. I feel it.
No, you're not. You're not.
I'm never triggered.
I always think that you damage yourself when you continue to expose yourself to bad behavior in relationships.
Yes. Oh my God. Say that again. That was good.
And so you've got to preserve the goodness of yourself. And by that, I mean, the more you expose yourself to anyone who does any of these things we discussed, anyone who's love bombing, gaslighting, deflecting, victim blaming, all that shit, just the minute you figure out that that's what's happening, get out of the relationship, because the more you put up with stuff like that, you ruin yourself for the person that you're supposed to be with who's not doing any of those things to you.
Right.
And then that's baggage they're going to have to deal with.
Let me ask you this. I can remember, and I think most men can, of being rejected.
Right.
And, I'm in 7th grade. Oh, man, Gina B likes the captain of the basketball team, whatever the case.
Right.
I think men hold...
Well, that's where serial killers are born, by the way.
Right. The ones who become serial killers hold it against all women. But most men, I think, use that to become wiser. And they might still hold resentment to that woman, but they use that as experience going forward.
They do.
Women typically get hardened by these negative experiences.
They do.
And which is why it is uber important. And which is why, and this is not this show, so I didn't want to get into it. One of the issues I have with the feminati is not that women, no. The good thing that came out of that, again, I got 3 daughters. I want them to choose here goes my chair sinking again. I want them to choose whatever careers they want. They should be able to date whatever men they want. If they want to be intimate, that should be their choice. However, they don't let them know that, if you do decide you want to have more partners than someone else, and maybe you're at an age where you want to be married, and it never happens because you've made a decision to sleep with somebody who probably doesn't have any interest in marrying you.
Who doesn't deserve you.
He's never shown any interest. He's never taken you out, but you thought he was cute, and you exercised your right, which you do have.
And you thought that sex was going to be the way to keep
I think
them.
it damages.
It does. It damages
over time.
It does.
And that's the biggest issue. It's not that I don't think women shouldn't do that. It's because I think it does a negative effect. Now, if you never want to be married, if you say, hey.
But you want options.
But
you don't
I
want to reduce your options.
But
you don't.
I can't speak to what someone wants.
Right, but you don't know what you're going to want later. And so you have to kind of preserve your options. But even, we have a responsibility to each other.
Right.
As men and women. So sometimes I'll get hit on still, even though I'm married, whatever.
Guys don't give a
They don't care.
Flute.
But if anyone comes to me really respectfully, then I feel like I owe it to that person to not give them a bad experience.
Right.
So I'm always really nice. Like, I'm like, thank you so much for you were very respectful and kind. I'm married, but look, I don't want to discourage him from from approaching another woman respectfully.
Right.
So if I said, "No, mommy, I don't marry you. Don't talk to me," so that might chip away at his confidence. Or,
right.
but if he's a good guy and I don't know him, but I mean he's at least coming to me respectfully.
Right.
Like I want some other woman to have that experience.
And that will leave him feeling better than if you just dissed him like, I don't date broke dudes. Beat it.
Yeah, I don't know him to know if he's broke or whatever. But all I know is that I'm married, but or taken or whatever I was at the time has been So, but you have to have a responsibility.
Speaking of, one other thing I wish young men were taught, right? I think a lot of them, are less masculine than in years past, right? A lot of them don't have dads there. I'm not blaming the mom, not blaming the dad, but it's not this show. It's not this show. But they're more emotional. Mm-hmm. And they haven't been taught, they've been taught how to treat girls and what girls, but really not, they don't know what women want, right? So I would encourage young men to think about, or older men. It doesn't matter, and I tell women this too, but for men, you gotta know what women like. I don't care about feminism. Most women want you to take them out, right?
They want to feel special.
And
they want to feel like
I'm
you
old
gave
school.
thought
I believe in a guy
to your interaction.
I believe in a guy paying, at least first few times.
Yeah.
But I would date women who liked me and that I could afford, right?
Right.
Who were in my range. And I think you get a lot of men, these young men watch so many videos. Player, I'm sorry, if you're 24, you don't get the baddest chick on the planet. She's going to exercise her best options. So I'm not saying don't try, but when she doesn't respect you because someone else who has a higher value in her eyes than you, it's because you simped out.
Well, you know what guys what guys underestimate is, and then we're over, so we have
I got to give 2 minutes to the other side when you finish that.
But what guys underestimate is their ability to leave an impression by standing out, like by really being thoughtful about how to get to know her and things. Like when I look back on the dates that I've had over the years, I remember the men who were really thoughtful about what we did.
Listen.
They're not the most expensive dates that I can recall, but they were the ones where they really showed an interest.
I dated a woman for years, 2 years older than me in college, bodied up, dated like some big giant football dude. What did I do? Couldn't compete, didn't have the money, had a couple jokes. I had all my roommates act as waiters. My place was a restaurant. We wrote up menus. I bought a cheap
She
stuff.
remembers that.
Heck yeah, I almost married her. So, hey, that works.
Bam.
Back, real quick.
Yeah.
We have a couple minutes. Women. I'm saying this because there's so many successful women out here, especially black women. Y'all leading the boat in education, more rights, more opportunities than ever. But they're, at least according to research, they are unhappier than in years past, which is odd to me. So
everyone's unhappy right now.
Women are decidedly more unhappy, and they have more rights. They aren't getting, according to they aren't getting beaten up like everybody says they were, which they weren't. But it's another show. It's because they have their list, and I don't tell women what to do or not to do. I'm just telling you what might happen or what's likely to happen. They're always, I could be wrong. I could say, water your plant, give it sunlight, and you might say, I've seen a rose grow in the concrete. It happens. So I'm just telling you what normally works. Well, a lot of women are never taught what men, they can attract men. This is the last thing I'm saying. They can attract men. They know what to wear. They know what to say. They know how to act flirty. But they don't know how to retain good men.
Yeah.
Because usually the man that you want, the disciplined man, the man who has a nice gig or career, he looks good, he stays in shape. The reason he's like that is because he's disciplined, he's structured, etc. And when he dates someone, he's not going to try and control you. He's going to expect you to, all men want is to be respected, appreciated, right? And part of that respect is, and I'll go back to the example we used. Yeah, we're going out, we're going to a special event. Maybe it's a work event. Hey, babe, let's try to dress a little bit. Can you try to dress a little conservative? He's asking you. Now, that man has options. It would behoove you to not fight that battle. Women should fight wars. That little bitty battle, if If that man has shown you he's been respectful, he's nice, he's funny, he has the qualities you want in a person, I just don't believe in quarrels. You can do what you want, but it doesn't work. That's all I'm saying. Okay. It just doesn't work because there are a lot more beautiful women who are like you that he could get. So that's my biggest issue with women. They keep chasing men that aren't interested in them. I don't care what their list says. The options are who's stepping to you to not sleep with. How many marriage proposals have you gotten from guys like that? But yet and still you're waiting around on them.
Well, and then let's
date it seriously.
Let's flip it though.
Go ahead.
So and then we got to close this. Right. My issue with men is that it's not a numbers game really. For anybody.
Well, I would argue.
I know what you'd argue.
Because men aren't affected.
Okay, but there's still a group of women that you really like at the core.
Right.
Irrespective of how many you have at your fingertips, right? The ones that you really like, be creative. Like,
well, I agree. I'm never gonna not agree. I mean? I'm never gonna not agree with that.
It's not about how many. Like, I went out with 10 women this week. It's like just home in on the ones that you really feel are keepers.
But the man who has. They will close because this will lead to a debate. The man who has had more sexual partners is a better lover.
Okay.
Men don't value women who are better lovers.
About if you want a life partner. This is what we're talking about. I'm not talking about how many people you can bag.
I'm telling you, a life partner, a man has to continually work to keep the respect of a woman. Men get married on what they see. What's probable.
Okay, but
women get married on what's possible, which is why 70-90% of divorces are filed by women who married men. At one point they said, I do. All of a sudden, he's no longer good enough because she thought he's not what she thought was possible.
Okay, if you want to reduce the divorce rate.
I didn't reduce it.
I'm just saying. If you there's a lot. We're in an Instagram society right now where people feel like, people are disposable. There's another one, like, you just keep scrolling. Create an experience for the people that you really are.
Absolutely.
Right? And so we can,
what do you think?
I feel like this is another show.
Last question for you.
Yes.
I agree about men creating these experiences, et cetera, et cetera. Early on with women, because a lot of women get the attention or it just didn't work with that dude or whatever. What do these women offer in return?
What do you mean?
I'm taking them out. I'm doing whatever. What is she offering in return?
She offers the ability to be a great partner.
No.
The ability
We're not partners. We're just getting to know each other. I just spent $200.
Yeah, but you're investing in a future.
What is she investing in?
A future.
What has she done?
What do you mean, what has she done? Does she have to do anything?
That's a fallacy.
What are you looking for her to do?
She should express appreciation.
Well, okay. Yeah, she should be appreciative.
A lot of women don't.
Well, she should be appreciative. That's a baseline requirement. That's table stakes.
You should say thank you. I appreciate you. This was beautiful.
Table stakes.
I appreciate what you
planned.
If
a woman does not do that, boot her.
I don't care if she spent $50. This was nice. I really had a good time.
If she doesn't express, okay, let's back up.
But that is huge.
It's huge, but if
you want to minimize it, but it is huge.
But if you're in a class of women who doesn't express appreciation,
they don't.
Who doesn't, then get out of that class of women.
Well, that's all I'm saying is these are.
But what I'm saying is that
these
a
are
quality
mistakes.
Woman.
I'm saying this for women because I do think women are great at getting someone on the hook. They're not great at making it work.
Well, if you're a quality woman, let me just tell you.
No, there are plenty of quality women.
Express appreciation for a person who does things for you.
During the relationship
in general.
As well. Yeah, exactly.
In general. That's table stakes.
And men hate, especially as we get older, and I don't care if we make 40, 30, whatever, 100, doesn't matter. 2, 3, 4. Just like women hate broke men. Yeah. Really short, ugly men. That is how men feel with women who debate them.
Here we go.
Who debate them over nothing.
Yeah. Quarrelsome.
I cannot.
Difficult.
You don't have to like it. Every men and women they have their preferences. I'm about
to debate you on
anyway, that's it. That's all I got.
We're about to wrap.
Listen, leave some questions.
Please do.
Thank you for jumping in. we do check those later. Again,
thanks, Michelle, Bella, Khalid.
We will be fading away from Facebook, so go find us on YouTube.
Please do.
And just, I don't know, lock that in, favorite it, something.
Come visit me at Wax Vinyl Bar in Chicago.
Super producer, can you put the link to YouTube in the comments at some point? All right, peace and love. Wait a minute, what's that last question? What's the last question?
The last question was, run quickly. I just bought my ex a car and we're not together. We gave to learn to love each other for who we are. We can talk about that later.
Oh, I'm going to reply to that. Anyway,
right.
We out of here like last year. Thank you all for joining.
Peace
Gina B, see you next week. Reese, thanks a lot, bro.